Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. That helps us to understand if this is the sort of video you want us to be producing for you. You can also leave your comments below. That helps us understand the sorts of questions you'd like us to be asking, how you think we've done, and of course, what you thought of Canex Metals. You can also catch this as a podcast, an article, or a transcription on cruxinvestor.com. And of course, for our Crux Investor Club members, you get early access to this video, training courses, and commentary from experts from around the world. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We caught up today with Shane Ebert, who is the CEO of Canex Metals. They're early stage gold explorer, hunting gold in Arizona, not a bad jurisdiction. We talked about their business plan and how they hope to move things forward. They've got about $1.5 million with about another 500 bucks available to them towards the end of this year through warrants and some shares in another Canadian junior. So quite a smart team, good track record, very honest appraisal of the task ahead of them. Quite enjoyed listening to this. It's a sort of smaller company than we normally look at, but I guess there's always room for a little bit of early stage exploration in your portfolio. Just got to pick the right one. This one's 13 million market cap, has seen a bump in the share price recently. They've got to get out there and start telling this story. Spending about $400,000 over the next 21 days to a month on drilling. We look forward to hearing how that goes. So you can sit back, enjoy the interview. If there's anything you want to look at in particular, you can look at the description below that. It's got a bunch of topics on it. Anything interests you in particular, click on the number beside that topic. That's called timestamp, and I'll jump you through to that part of the video. Otherwise, enjoy what Shane has to say. Shane, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. First time we've spoken and we're talked and we're indeed heard this story. So looking forward to it. So where in the world are you?
I'm in northern Arizona in a hotel room right now.
Excellent. Excellent. Hard at work. So you're back at work, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Out in the field. Been here almost 2 months. We're just starting drilling. It's an exciting time for the company.
Yeah. Well, exactly. We did want to sort of talk to you and hear this story. We've had a few requests. So why don't you kick off, give us a 1 minute overview of the project, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Great. So CANX is focused on high-grade gold, northern Arizona. We're into an area with lots of widespread gold mineralization, not a lot of past exploration, and a lot of good opportunities. So we're excited about getting in there and exploring this new zone. It holds some really good high-grade near-surface gold upside for investors, and we're putting together some really good targets, and now we're at the drill stage. So this is where we start to test some of those targets.
Okay, well, look, it's a relatively new story. I mean, you're literally announcement today. You are going to be drilling today, and you're going to be making an announcement fairly quickly. So, given it's a new story, let me try and understand what I'm buying into here. Okay, so when I start with you, what's your history and track record?
So I'm a geologist. Did degrees in Canada and Australia, and I did my studies in Nevada. So a lot of history in the Great Basin. I worked through Nevada, Mexico, from Alaska to South America quite a bit. Been part of a team that's had quite a bit of success the last 20 years. Initially with Tyler Resources, our team found and sold a large copper deposit in Mexico. Since then, we went on to discover gold deposits in Newfoundland. I've been involved in copper gold discoveries in British Columbia, and a lot of project work throughout the Western U.S. So this is an area we're comfortable with, our team's comfortable with, and we see a lot of upside.
Okay, so thanks for that rundown on what your background is. But let's talk about what you've set out to do. I mean, were you part of the founding group here? Because obviously this company's been around. It has been restructured into what we see today. So when did you get involved?
So I've been involved now for about 12 years. So back after Tyler wrapped up and that company was taken over, we took on new management roles in this company. So the precursor was Northern Abitibi Mining, involved in exploration all over the place. A few years back, we restructured the company, and Altius Minerals came in as a founding partner. They helped us recapitalize, and they've been a really strong supporter of the company. So this new company was looking for projects, and basically an opportunity came up in northern Arizona that had really good potential. We saw a lot of gold over a widespread area, and a project where we could go in and put things together for low cost and meet our criteria, which are, we're looking for opportunity, but in this case, gold, which is a great commodity in a fantastic location. Arizona is clearly one of the premier first world mining jurisdictions. They're in the top 10 in the Fraser Institute. It's a great location. If you look, we have Nevada to the north, we've got northern Mexico to the south. The geology continues through the two. Lots of opportunity here. So the management team loved the jurisdiction, saw a good early stage opportunity where we could leverage our skill sets and add value quickly through low cost, really good science on the ground, and bring to investors high grade near surface targets that we see scale to. I mean, it's exploration, it's early stage, but we're seeing what we want to see in terms of checking boxes for size, for potential, for what we need to actually make a real discovery that we can move to the next level, which would be resources and eventually monetizing or moving forward.
So hang on, I just want to understand something. So you've been involved with this entity for 12 years, and Altius got involved when? When did they put money in?
A couple of years ago, we restructured, they helped us recapitalize, and they got behind us as an exploration company.
Right, okay, right. And how much money did they put in?
They put in a few $100,000 initially to get us off the ground, get us moving. And that was the catalyst. It was at a time when it was hard to raise money. So they saw the opportunity, they liked the background, they liked the people involved. They've been a strong supporter. I've done work for them in the past. They know our group very well. We've worked on projects. We made a gold discovery with Altius in Newfoundland 5-6 years ago. So we have a good working relationship. They like the way that we put money into the ground. We're very effective and efficient with the capital that we do raise. It goes mostly into exploration. And they were very happy to support us at a time when, it was tough to raise money a few years back. Definitely. So that kept us going. That got us the ability to look for targets, to focus, and to move the company forward.
Okay, so they're backing the management team. You've made money with them before, and they're hoping you can do that again. But it's only a few $100,000. So, I mean, how much money have you raised, since then? And how much money have you got today?
Yeah, since then, just over $1 million and a bit. Right now, we have about 1.2 million cash and equivalents. We're spending a portion of that on this drilling program, but we'll come out of this with not as high a bank account as we'd like, but still a healthy bank account to get us through the next 6 months, 12 months.
Okay. So given they back
in this business.
Yes, I was about to say, Shane. So given they I just want to finish off on the management team. Okay. So it's you and who?
So the other technical person on the team is JP Jutras. He's a geologist, technical background. We have a couple of directors with a financial background that have really helped with the business side of things. And then we just have, some core management teams that are great at capital markets, corporate, the rules and the regs of navigating the system.
Okay, so when did you then find the asset? How did you find the asset?
Yeah, so that's interesting. About a year ago, I got a call from a prospector who lives part-time down in Arizona. We did a deal with a separate company with that group, so he knew us from a different life. And he was out metal detecting, and he found some coarse nuggety gold in place with his metal detector. They ended up taking out about 20 ounces of gold from a little pocket that they dug up. So, I mean, he took a picture, he showed it to me, a nice quartz vein with splashy gold, looks really impressive. And I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. New discovery, area that hasn't been looked at, under about a foot of cover, looked like lots of upside. So I thought, okay, I love Arizona. We're looking in the Western US for projects. So I hopped on a plane, came down, went out, looked at the site with him. I mean, it was definitely of interest. There wasn't enough exposed to say too much about his discovery, but I spent a few days just walking around and started to come up with some old workings from the 1880s, starting to trace some bigger structures. And all of a sudden, could see that, there's potential here to put something together with some good, honest boots and hammer work on the ground. Seeing some visible gold in some of these quartz veins, so it's mineralized before assays, and widths up to 5 meters. So right off the bat, I had a pretty positive impression, and we ended up doing a deal on a few claims. And since then, we've grown the claims exponentially. We now have 145 claims. We've surrounded that area. We've incorporated 4 or 5 small-scale past producing gold operations dating to the 1880s, and including a small-scale heap leach operation dating from the 1980s. So we were able to assemble a land package and start to trace some of these mineralized zones. One of them we've traced for over 5 kilometers. So we're starting to see the scale that we want in the system and widespread veins. Some of these veins are small, they're discontinuous, they're not what they're looking for, but put together as the whole package, they give us a really good idea what's going on structurally. And our focus is to pull out via structure and good geology and geochem and all the typical methods, including geophysics, the bigger zones, the bigger targets. And that's what we've been focused on.
Okay, so tell me this. Okay, so I don't know about the boots on the ground and walking around and looking at stuff. Neither do 99% of the people watching this. Okay, what they do understand is that a lot of companies come to market and 19 out of 20, 95% of them will fail. Okay, and what they don't know, what I would like to understand is how do we get excited about the things that you're excited about when you see this? Because it's quite easy to go and raise some money off the back of anything at the moment, anything with gold in it. You're going to be able to raise whatever capital you want. And most of those will never see the light of day in terms of getting into production. They just won't. So help me understand what you think you've got there and why this isn't just a sort of capital promote type project.
Right. Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. Most exploration projects don't pan out. I mean, this is the riskiest stage. And basically, we're in the business of trying to mitigate risk. So, I mean, we've mitigated the political, social risk by being in a good jurisdiction. But how do we mitigate the exploration risk, the geology? How do you separate this from something that's of interest but not going to go anywhere? So to do that, what I like to do is look at certain criteria and check certain boxes in the exploration stage. One of it is there's grade. We love to see grade because
how do you know that?
You can have lots of mineralization, but grade's hard to replicate. So we see grade, we see halos around some of these things. But what we do is we have a picture here that has the potential for a bigger scale system. So there's in nature, there's tons of small scale systems. There's only a few bigger scale systems that actually become mines and actually become mineable. And the key is to try to recognize that. So you want to look for certain things. Here we see a genetic model that works for us. It's got size, it's got analogies. We see structure, we see a distribution of mineralization over a large area, and we see the potential to have the right traps to get higher grade zones of high grade mineralization over bigger areas. That's what we're focused on.
But how can you say that? You haven't drilled a hole. You're looking at that surface. You've got no data. I mean, give me some assurances about how you come to that conclusion.
So to build those targets, you have to start from scratch. We started from scratch here. We had no information, no assays. So now we have over 2,000 soil samples, over 500 rock samples. We use that surface data. We've flown a high resolution airborne magnetic survey with drones. That survey has been really good. Very low cost, but extremely good high quality information. So we can map the structures and trace them on the surface. We can follow them and extend them with that geophysical survey. We can combine all these quality data sets and start to develop targets, understand the structure, understand the modifications of the mineralized zones post-mineral, which is common in this part of the world, and put it all together into a picture where we can say, look at if there's mineralization here, we need a few holes in this zone because it's got size potential. It could be this big or not. But just to back up here a bit, over half of our targets are directly targeting high-grade mineralization that we see at surface. So a lot of our targets are low risk. If we can duplicate what we see at surface, it's going to be a very good success for us. Then we go out and take a few flyers. Then we look at our model, we look at our structure, and we look at the picture that we're building, and we say, okay, here's an area that we can't see much. It's covered. But if there's mineralization there and our structural model suggests it could be a really good trap, we put a few holes into these areas. Maybe we've got a big soil anomaly. Maybe we've got other criteria that suggest there's gold there. But basically, part of the risk exploration is you're taking some low risk drill hole bets, but you're also taking some flyers on things that could maybe make a difference and change the game if they're successful. But realistically, you're only going to hit on a few of those if you do, right? That's the risk of exploration.
Okay, so that, I mean, to me, that sounds like quite generic. Okay, that, you know, all geo teams are going to say those things to me. I'm looking for the bit. You have made discoveries, good discoveries in the past. You've got a track record. Altius think you're good. You've made money for them. What I'm trying to get at is the real nub of, what did you see when you're on the ground? What is the data which is saying to you, this is not just some interim step for me until I find something more decent to go work on. This is going to be meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to quantify, but in a nutshell, what I see there is what I see when I work on other deposits that do have what it takes to become a mine. So if I want to make a direct analogy, I've worked a lot in the Pogo district in Alaska, and I've mapped a lot of these high-grade veins. I've mapped some of the intrusions around there. I've seen some of the sheeted stockworks in the intrusions and the distribution of these high-grade around veins. So by direct analogy, I liked what I saw there. And on the ground here in Arizona, the desert has a pretty good memory, but you can go out there and there's no trenches, there's no drill holes. This has been gone over by 100 companies in the past. We're putting together a new project in this area and testing the guts of it for the first time. Hasn't been done before. So the analogy that what we're seeing on the ground here with what I've seen in the field in deposits of this style is very compelling. I like what I see. There's a lot of good similarities. So basically analogies are a great way in this business to understand what you're looking at and move things forward. So that's what we're doing here. We like what we see. We're seeing gold, we're seeing structure, we're seeing the right kind of structure. And now we're moving forward and testing it.
So how committed are you? I mean, how much of your money is in this?
So over the years, I've got a few $100,000 of my own money in. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, as someone running and managing and doing this as a career, it's significant on my end.
Okay, and so talk to me about what you're going to do with, say, $1 million. Because what's your G&A first? I mean, how much are you burning through just in terms of the administrative component?
Yeah, so we're around $350,000 to $400,000 a year in G&A. Right. We run a pretty tight ship. We share offices. We do a lot to control costs.
Like what?
And that's like what? A lot of that is just regulatory compliance.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of high overheads. We work project specific. And, you know, we do everything as cost effectively as we can. We've done that for 20 years.
You sit in another couple of boards. So how do you portion your time between this and those projects?
Yeah, so with my other projects, I mean, we have teams involved in both. The last few years when things are slow, it's not an issue, right? There's not as much to do as you'd like and works good. As things get busier, then the demand on your time gets higher. So it's basically assembling good quality teams that can do the work, that you have trust in, that can go out and get the job done cost effectively and do it right and move things forward. So time management is very important. Okay.
And are you paying yourself here? Or are you just taking, I mean, how do you remunerate yourself? It's hard to say. I
take a modest daily wage. So in terms of remuneration, I take a modest daily wage and options. I'm not in this for the daily wage that I take. I'm in this for the big picture. So my shareholdings and the option package I have is basically my compensation.
Okay, so let's talk about money in the ground. I mean, you've got a small amount of money. You can't run it up to the wire. So how are you allocating capital to further develop your understanding of what it is that you have?
Yeah, so we're going to spend about $400,000 on this drill program. We've spent maybe $300,000 getting to this stage with the surface work, the geophysics, all the things that we've done. We'll spend about $400,000 in. We'll have $500,000, $600,000 in the bank post program, and then it's very much results driven way forward. We've got some really good shareholders behind us. We've got the ability to raise money when we need it. We can go into that a bit later. But, as we have success and move forward, like any junior, we need to raise money to keep things going. If things don't pan out, then you take your next opportunity and move forward with that.
Okay, so 400,000. It depends what comes back. I mean, and you've literally just announced this morning that drilling has commenced at the Gold Range property. When are you hoping to report back to the market?
So, I mean, we'll give regular updates now that drilling's commenced. So hopefully every week, thereabouts, we'll put out an update. We've done a ton of surface work, so we'll be able to start putting out some surface results, but everybody wants drill results. That's what, we're in this for. So we're going to start sending complete drill holes to the lab in batches of 2 or 3. So hopefully, depending on lab turnaround, in the next 3-4 weeks, we can start releasing drill hole results to the market, and people can understand what it is that we're getting.
Okay, tell me this. Just again, technical question for you. You're the geo, right? Chip and grab samples. Do they tend to be a lot higher than diamond drill results because you're sort of a little bit more selective?
The drill results are usually more representative,
right?
For sure. What we're doing with this program, we have a lot of coarse gold, so we can see gold in a lot of the veins. That's always the hardest material to analyze to get a representative, repeatable result. The nugget effect is well known and it's challenging. So what we're doing to mitigate that with drilling is doing a big size, taking big samples, and prepping them in a way that we get the most representative samples that we can. So we have over 500 chip and grab samples now, and you're right. Sometimes you're understating, sometimes you're overstating. In case in point, we did a trench about 6 months ago. We took a sample across an interval, and we got around 2 grams per ton gold. We resampled the same interval, we got closer to 15 grams per ton gold. We know it's mineralized, we can see gold in the vein, but the volume and where you sample that vein can make a difference. So you got to do whatever you can to mitigate that. So yes, when you're out there taking chips and grabs, they can be overstated, they can be understated. Hopefully they're somewhere around what's representative, and you need big samples, but you also need to prep them right. You need to do everything that you can from a technical side to reduce the nugget effect. Right.
Okay. It's just you talk in the press release about chip and grab samples from 48 grams a ton but averaging 8.5 grams a ton. I just wonder if how do you go about assessing what is representative for the region or the district, and what your expectations are when you start drilling?
Yeah, I mean, and that's tough. And when we release those samples, we're including samples of high-grade veins, and we're including samples of the wall rock adjacent to the vein, which could have low-grade mineralization or no mineralization. So when we chip sample a zone, we want to get out of mineralization. So we want to sample the good stuff, but we also want the wall rock. So when I say averages over 48 samples or however 64 samples, we're including 0 value and the best value. Not always the best way. You should really actually pull out your mineralized veins and take that range for those things. But it just gives people an idea. We've taken lots of samples from the zone, and there's a lot of gold in the zone. The drill will really help us determine continuity and grade through that zone.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to rely on.
Okay, so how long is this drill program lasting?
So if all goes well and smoothly, which almost never happens on a drill program, it should be about 21 days, and we should have it wrapped up. About 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And sorry, and in terms of your $400,000 spend, is that, over what period is that?
Yeah, so that's all through the drill program. It's all through the results. That gets us to everything being done and complete and all results in.
Right. Okay.
So that will be, a month and a half. That's about what our cash balance will be.
Okay. So pretty quickly, you're going to have to work out what you've got, and then you're going to probably have to go back to your shareholders. You mentioned a second ago you've got some very understanding shareholders, I assume Altius and others, who, all things being well, should follow the money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we can raise money, especially in this market. On the back of positive results, it gets a lot easier, definitely. So, I mean, at some point, we're going to have to look at, keeping going. What's the next stage? What are we going to give to investors after this? A lot of that will depend on what we find. When we're done this program, we've already got 6 or 8 really good targets to drill test on phase 2. So if we can move forward with a few zones here that we can build resources on, that'd be fantastic, because we can move right to the resource building stage, and we can also start to bring on our new targets and test our new targets. So, as this program goes, we move things forward. We're continually bringing on new targets. And as we understand new zones, and as the drill shows us where to go, where not to go, we can act accordingly and start moving forward and start to build value with the drill.
Right. Okay. And so when do you think the real value starts being created? When should people be looking at your company? Because, like I say, it's early stage. It's going to appeal to some. It's not going to appeal to others. But I think today you've been quite clear about what people would be getting into if they did look at you. So where do you think the value lies? They should sit back and wait till the drill results come out, shouldn't they?
Well, typically the discovery phase with the drill is where you add the most value on any project in any company. So, I mean, we're at that stage now. So, with some good drill results, there's a lot of upside here for investors, definitely.
But there's a lot of dilution coming because you're going to need to raise this capital, right?
Certainly, dilution's always part of it. We're trying to manage that by, adding value as we go. 2 raises ago, we raised money at 5 cents. The last time was at 9 cents. Now we're up around 24 cents. Our cost of capital keeps coming down. We're heading in the right direction. So, to exercise our business plan, we need more capital. We're going to need to continue to raise some money through stages as we go and develop the resource as we can, as we get through the exploration stages. So yeah, raising capital is part of the business. There's different ways of doing that. And we're going to be as sensitive as we can to keep our share structure as good as we can as we move forward.
Different ways of raising capital in the exploration phase. How's that?
Well, you can bring in partners. You can look at other ways of bringing in capital. So yes, different companies have different business models. We're very much a true exploration company. So we want to identify good targets that we think can add value, and we want to move those forward ourselves. Other companies may look for targets and bring in other people's capital to do the risky drilling and stuff. But no, we're an exploration group. We see opportunity, we identify it. If we don't like the opportunity, we're going to move on to the next one. But the big way to add value in this business of exploration, which is high risk by nature, is to take those gambles, take your best shots, and those companies with drill discoveries do very well in the market for shareholders. Another thing I'd like to point out, Matt, is we've got more money coming in as we move forward. We've got $230,000 worth of 10-cent warrants due in October that we expect to be exercised. That money will come in. We're going to receive about 125,000 shares of Canadian Nickel Corp through a deal we have with Spruce Ridge and Holdings and an asset we monetized to Spruce Ridge in Newfoundland. That's almost $500,000 coming in, which will more than cover our drill program. So we're going to have some money in the bank following this to move us to the next level.
Okay, so you're explorers, pure explorers. At what point do you start seeking partners, whether it be, well, in whatever form or guise that may be?
Yeah, it's hard to say at this stage. We're explorers, like you say. We're not mine builders or developers. Very different skill set. We recognize that. And we're not trying to be all things. So we'll focus on what we're good at, which is identifying, exploring, defining the resource. As we move forward and we get to those decisions that we may or may not need a partner, we will make those decisions. Eventually, we'll potentially try to monetize the asset to a mine development group or other. But as we move forward, we'll look at those opportunities and do what's best for shareholders.
Beautiful. Well, like Shane, I mean, thanks very much for coming and telling us that story. It's an early stage project. I'm always intrigued by what's going on up here with the management team. You seem to have a very clear view of how you're going to go about doing that, and I do appreciate your track record and the involvement of people like Altius, etc. But come back on and let us know how the drill results go. Maybe in a month's time, you should have some good news, right?
Well, we'll see. We're testing lots of targets. So we got 5 or 6 different targets we're testing, multiple holes into each. we'll see what holds. But I'm excited. I'm excited that the drill's finally turning, that we're finally going to get, a good look at what it is that we're doing out here. And then we've got some new big ideas coming together, which can add value down the road. So lots of good things to come from CANX.